G'day, Tragic here, and welcome to my final thoughts for Favour of the Pharaoh. What do I think of Favour of the Pharaoh? Well, I quite like this game. I mean, I've always liked To Court the King. I think that's a fantastic game, and I've been playing it for years. But there's a few things about To Court the King and also Favour of the Pharaoh which is important to note, and that is it's very simple. It's just a die chucker, simple die chucker. Now, you know, some games like I'm gonna basically make up a term called gamified for this chat. Some games are gamified in inverted commas, where they build convoluted or lots of moving parts. They build like a game into simple mechanics. Elder Sign is a great example, in my opinion. That is a die chucker. All you're doing is throwing dice, manipulating dice, and having different targets for your dice. And they've built this whole big game around it by putting lots of, cards and items and all these kind of things in. So it's a gamified game. Like they've made it a game. It's a game. But this one it doesn't have all that. And To Court the King wasn't that either. You just have some tiles, throw some dice, and then you're done. Very, very simple. And that accessibility from its simplicity makes it very, very good for non-gamers and for burnt out brains of hardcore gamers. And what I mean by that is, this is a great end of night game. So you've played your game, you just played, 10 hours of Andean Abyss or something, and you think, you know what? We don't want to go home just yet. Let's pop a couple of beers, chat about the game. And this is a good game to play while you're doing that. It's nice and light. It's a nice filler game. Quick, doesn't take a lot of effort to play. And that same reason makes it very good for non-gamers. I've had great success with this playing with friends, like who don't game in inverted commas. Come over for dinner. So after dinner, you finish off a second bottle of wine, chatting and playing this game. And it's had great success there because you can explain it really quickly. Non-gamers pick it up instantly, and it's not hard. There isn't all this convoluted stuff in it. And there's a couple of games like this, like Age of War, that Reiner Knizia sort of Japanese dice roller kind of game is a similar kind of game to this. Very, very simple. Doesn't have a lot of game in inverted commas around it. But, I think Favour of the Pharaoh does have some things that are more interesting. Like, To Court the King, you basically just dealt a deck of cards and rolled. And it was the same cards every time. So in Favour of the Pharaoh, they've created a system for changing the board on setup. You've got a number of different tiles that can go into the same, bracket. Okay, so you've got 4 brackets from the cheap stuff to the expensive tiles. And there's a number of different types of tiles you can have in there. And there's also a different ways of buying them. Right? So the thing that tells you how to buy the tiles, you flip that over. So there's 2 sides to those bars. And then there's a couple of different tile sets that can go into each of those slots. So that makes it, I've got a lot more variability than To Court the King. I mean, I kind of wish they kept the To Court the King theme over the Egyptian theme, but it's still very cool. Now the problem is, because this game is so simple, the setup time has been increased to a point where it's like, I don't know if that's worth it. If I play this game, like with To Court the King, you could play the game over, deal the cards again, play again in seconds. This one, game's over, it takes you another 15 minutes or something to set up. And that's kind of annoying, but in the long run, for variability, if you're not playing multiple games in the one session, then I think that's good. Still, I think that's a bit of a downer. Now, the one thing I do want to mention is that I'm a big believer in the evolution of gaming, as in, like, games improve upon each other. You know what I mean? Like, a game from the 80s, I mean, there are exceptions, but a game from the 80s is not usually as good as a game from, 2015 or 17 or whatever the hell it is now. Because all the ideas and concept of those early games are sort of incorporated and improved and tweaked so it's getting more and more refined. And in my opinion, a game came out a couple of years ago called Ancient Terrible Things from this company called Pleasant. And they thought of a great die system for doing die manipulation. And it was a little twist on it, and it's so much better. Basically, in Ancient Terrible Things, and they've got a new game called Conjure, both using this system. Instead of having like Elder Sign or like this, where you've got lots of different external abilities that can modify the dice, instead you have different ways of using the dice that you can choose. So you roll your die pool, and then from all the dice faces, you can use them in different ways. So you get the same feeling of manipulating your dice pool. I mean, in those games, they've got items as well, but the core of it is that you look at your dice pool and then you can use it in completely different ways, different configurations of how you use the dice pool. And it gives the exact same feeling as a dice manipulation game, but it's so much more fun and it's streamlined. There's no items and cards and decks and tiles, it's just bam, roll your dice, look at them, and then in your head work out all the massive amount of possibilities that you can do with it. It is such a fantastic system. And playing this game, I'm just like, man, this concept of manipulating die has been replaced with a new system, which is way better, in my opinion. And yeah, so I would actually recommend, if you're a gamer, you'd probably want to look into Pleasant Company's stuff. But I don't want that to put you off. Like I said, this is a great game for non-gamers. It's a great game as a filler. It's a nice light game, and I do enjoy it. But as I was playing it, I was thinking, there's two caveats. The one caveat is that the variable setup, which in the long run might be an improvement because it adds variability to play, also means that it's a lot slower to just play again. You can't just go, oh, okay, I'm finished, because it takes 15, 20 minutes to play. Let's play again, because it takes, a third of the time to play the game it takes to set up the next one. You know what I mean? And that's kind of annoying. And the second one is that in a more serious sense, I think that the concept of how the dice are manipulated is a little dated. But still, I still think it's a pretty decent game, and I think that it's definitely going to stay in my collection. It's definitely going to still come to the table. I can get this to the table very easily, like I said, especially with my non-gamer mates. And yeah, well, that's about it. So, Favour of the Pharaoh or Court the King 2. And, where's Court the King? Where's the Court the King sequel, please? I was a bit disappointed of the re-theme into the pyramids, but whatever. I'll see you guys next time.